Welcome to La Vida Baseball Live.
Fernando Tatis Jr. is the show.
It's a fact. Latino players have more fun.
Okay, who's better, Daddy Yankee or Bad Bunny?
Hands down, the best players are from Venezuela.
Wait, what? You are so wrong, Ozzie.
Okay, you both have very valid points, but we got to get back to the show, you guys. Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of La Vida Baseball Live. Here's a look at what is trending. MLB pitchers beware. MLB threatens 10-game suspensions over sticky substance use. The league issued new guidance in hopes of deterring pitchers from using foreign substances to gain an advantage on spin rate while playing. Another week, another Nike City Connect drop, but this time it's going a little West Coast and it's spicy. Oh yes, the Diamondbacks are honoring the state's Latinx culture with their new gold Serpentes alt jerseys. Big Sexy threw a big, sexy, complete game on just 90 pitches. 48-year-old Bartolo Colon struck out 7 and allowed 2 earned runs on Sunday in the Mexican League. Sign him already. Come on, guys. And 3 of the top 4 home run leaders happen to be from the Dominican Republic and also happen to be juniors. Vladdy Jr. leading with 22 home runs, Fernando Tatis leading with 20, and Ronald Acuna Jr., who's actually from Venezuela, with 18. And that is a look at what is trending. Jennifer and Ozzie, welcome to the show, guys. Jen, you were at Fenway this past weekend. Tell me, what was it like?
It was awesome. It was first time being at the ballpark as far as having full capacity, and it was great. I was able to talk to Vladdy Jr., ask him a couple questions, ask him who he would like to face if he's in the home run derby, and also just see fans and having a good time and singing and dancing, eating. It was just a really nice environment because, you know, last year this time, people were dying by like the hundreds, and especially on the East Coast, I always say I feel like if you're not from like the tri-state area, you really didn't know that impact of like the beginning of the pandemic, how we felt it over here, and it was just really nice to see people enjoying themselves.
That's awesome. Such good energy. I love that ballparks are starting to reopen and they're all celebrating their reopening day. Ozzie, how was your week?
My week was awesome. Chicago was booming. The Cubs are in full capacity, and I feel like we were back. Again, they sold out, played the Cardinals, swept the Cardinals in the series, but it was jumping. It's the first team in town to go full capacity, but it was a hot day of summer, and you know, it felt like it was a pre-COVID moment once before this pandemic. So it was huge for the city of Chicago. And, you know, I was surprised. I thought I was going to see more people like wearing masks, or, you know, I even thought when they opened up the stadium that they might have issues, you know, going full capacity just because people might be a little bit hesitant. But it wasn't. It was just full blown. They did a great job. No issues until now. Just good baseball. And people, the only thing that people were a little bit complaining, which is a good thing because that means jobs are going to come back, was that they were at 50% capacity for vendors. So there was a massive call out actually on social media and the newspapers because they're looking for part-time workers to be able to, you know, serve those fans that are in the stands. So again, another good news for here in the city of Chicago.
Oh, so awesome. Well, we look forward to baseball being back at full capacity. And I think all 30 ballparks and teams should be back at full capacity by next week. So that's something to look forward to. And let's talk about a feel-good story because, Jen, Ozzie, as you know, when you're hanging out in the clubhouse, when you are at spring training, you often find guys just doing good deeds. Well, this story out of Atlanta, the feel-good story of the week, Josh Tomlin of the Atlanta Braves buys a kid a glove at a Dick's Sporting Goods. It was a young kid. He couldn't afford the glove. He was asking his mom, I want this glove. And there's Josh Tomlin. He happens to be in the store. He overhears this. And then he goes to his car. He gets him his Ronald Acuna Jr. bobblehead because Acuna happens to be the kid's favorite player. He gives it to him. He says, hold on to this. It's going to be worth a lot one day. It's so cool. The kid is so excited. And then he says, go ahead and pick out any glove in the store. How awesome is that? I love to see players giving back, and especially when nobody is watching. That's when you know that they're one of the good guys. Jen, have you got caught players in the act of doing something great?
I mean, in the act like this, like at a store, not particularly. Actually, no, I'm lying, because I did go. I was once at a store, and it was during spring training, and Henry Mejia, who played with the New York Mets, was at. It was, I think it was a Marshalls, and he was there with a couple of guys from the minor leagues, and he was shopping with them. He was shopping for them, actually. He took them to the store and bought them clothes. And I know a lot of guys in the big leagues, once they get to the big leagues, they tend to do that. But I mean, we all know during this pandemic, guys were giving back left and right here in the States and back in their hometowns.
Ozzie, in your experience, who's been the most generous player that you've ever seen or worked with?
Oh, you when you're in Venezuela, a lot of guys, I think that players are always giving back, especially equipment, getting guys, the opportunity, because again, not a lot of people can afford this. There is a cost of playing baseball. It's not a inexpensive sport. Let's say soccer, one ball for, 30 kids. Baseball, you have to have certain things to play. My favorite thing is, though, this moment for this young man is going to change his life as a fan, okay? He's obviously going to love Josh now. I love when I see men, okay, come to Ozzie Guillén, and now with social media, they'll share it publicly, but they'll show a picture of them as a kid when they met Ozzie, okay, at some random event that their parents took them to, or at a restaurant somewhere. And they'll say, I became a huge baseball fan because I had the opportunity to meet you, and you were so nice and you were so open. That's why I'm a White Sox fan and I'm an Ozzie Guillén fan. And you don't know the impact that, as a player, that you can have on a human being at that moment, that first interaction. It could be so great, or it could be really, really horrible for a young kid, where you can turn someone on or off to the game. So I do believe in marketing. I do believe in advertising, but I do believe that to this day, our number one ambassadors are the guys wearing the uniforms, and they're the ones that could promote the game the way that he just did, just very organically, because now not only is this young man going to be a bigger Acuna fan and a fan of his now, but a diehard Braves fan. So this is a type of I'm glad that he shared it, because these are the types of act that usually don't make it to the public, but it's a really, really good story, especially in today's age where players are very separated from fans because of the way that everything's set up now.
Yeah, I love that. And also with the transparency of social media, you can have people talking about it. I remember being at spring training, and we were in Port St. Lucie, and David Wright was a couple of people behind me in line at a Starbucks before we arrived at the stadium. And he went ahead and paid for everyone's coffee. And that's just so nice. So nice. Pay it forward. And speaking of doing good and giving back, Jen, you spied with your weekend eye some goodness going on in the DR.
Yes. So this organization called Jump Bam, it does amazing work in the Dominican Republic. They look for people, families who really need a shot at life, basically. And this particular case is of a young girl who, unfortunately, at the age of 12, was sexually assaulted, and as a product of that assault, became pregnant. She and her family lived in just horrible, if you can see that video, they lived in horrible conditions. And this organization raised funds with people out of their goodness of their heart donating, and also some other organizations, and built them a home, and also supplied formula for the next 6 months. And they'll also be providing food, meals for the next 2 years for this family. And it's just amazing, right? I mean, I think when anyone has just a proper place to live, running water and electricity, how much of a better future they have in store for them. And they're also providing therapy for the young girl. So all the way around, it's an amazing thing that they did. And she's definitely got a lot to look forward to now.
Oh, just those simple things that we all take for granted, like electricity and running water. Ozzie, what was something that you saw this weekend that sparked your attention?
You know what? I can go either way with this one, but I've never been a huge fan of people proposing in sporting events unless your significant other is into it, okay? I thought this was super cool because obviously softball is a thing that most guys do, but this seemed like it was a co-ed league. This young man proposes like right behind the plate. She's not expecting it. And there popped the question. I hope that this is something that they had talked about, that they had kind of like, you know, what are the worst places that you wouldn't like to get proposed to? But I'm assuming that softball was a huge thing for her. Because in my case, my wife told me, so you joke around. I said, you will get the Jumbotron. Will you marry me? And she said, don't do it. You will be embarrassed. So again, I thought it was awesome. I'd never seen the whole softball thing. Again, I think it's all about who you're getting engaged to for the perfect engagement. I don't think there's like a one fits all. So you got to know your significant other pretty well. But this one was pretty cool. I'd never seen that one before. Taking a knee softball game. Thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jen, where would you want to be proposed to?
At this point, anywhere.
You know what, Jen? You say that now. You say that now until the guy that proposes to you does not do it the right way. And then I had a weak proposal. I think that mine was pretty weak. I did it in a restaurant. You know, I was very serious. I did the restaurant, but she talked about
family, anywhere where my family would be.
But her family was there. Her family was there. It was a big surprise party, so it was like a family get together. But I think you need to know your significant other. I'll tell you guys this much: I do not see either of you being okay with getting proposed at a softball game while you were hitting. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely not. Unacceptable. And also unpopular opinion. I'll just go ahead and say it. I hate restaurant proposals. I'm sorry, Ozzie. I can't.
It's okay.
Oh.
Again, it's okay. You know how bad it would have been for your husband to not know that and then do it in a restaurant? You know what I mean? Like, he would have been devastated. It would have been like, you know, you might have been like, really? Like, you don't know me that well? I really think that it's a huge deal. And I get it. When people are fans and both people bond over a team, I get it if you do that. But if you're a guy who you're a diehard fan and you go rogue and you propose in your favorite team, but your significant other could care less, that's very dangerous.
Yeah, I have one of my very good girlfriends. Her fiance at the time proposed to her. He planned a surprise photo shoot for her. She's an actress, and so he did this whole photo shoot thing, and then she's taking pictures, but we were in another area, so he invited her friends and her family. And so when she came out, she saw all of us there, and it was like a big thing with family and friends, and that was nice. I would definitely love something where my family is involved.
Oh, see, to me, that's so funny because which I totally get, and that's a beautiful thing to have all the family involved. For me personally, I always knew I wanted it to be like a very private thing, just between he and I, and it was, which I was super happy about. And I love that it was like our little secret until we let it out there into the world. But just for like a few hours before we told our families, like, we were the only two people in the world that knew. And there was something really cool about that, really special about that. And that's why I guess I'm so anti doing it in a restaurant, because
I love it though. Not in a Pittsburgh, worst place you can get proposed to, a Pittsburgh Pirates game. I'll say it right now. If your team's not in first place, don't propose at a stadium.
I'm going to top you on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I know there's a baseball show, but how about an Eagles game? That to me is the worst.
You're not in first place. If your team is not in first place, it's already a bad idea. Do not do it if your team's in the bottom of the division. Don't do it.
Agreed. Okay, my favorite thing that I saw actually on Twitter, which is rare, trust me. But over the weekend, I discovered this guy, Dan Price. He's a CEO of a company, and he raised his employees' minimum wage to $70,000 a year. He cut his own salary by $1 million so he could afford to pay
cut so that all my
his workers at least that's bare minimum. Imagine working for his company and, like, you know, you don't have a C-suite position, but you're still making $70,000 per year. And he has these wonderful videos where he talks about how meaningful it is and what it does for the company's morale and what it does to better the people, the individuals' lives, to be making that much money. And he has a great answer to the argument
in the number of
when people say money doesn't buy you happiness.
People paid down debt and they started saving for retirement. But people say,
"Oh yeah," I absolutely agree with. So, congratulations, Dan Price, amazing CEO. You can follow him on Twitter, and he talks about the importance of raising the minimum wage and raising the wage of workers everywhere so that they can afford to live a happier and hopefully healthy life. Okay, let's talk about something we talked about in the trending topics. Bartolo Colon, 48 years old. When are they going to sign this guy? Pitchers, their heads are reeling because MLB just handed down this memo basically stating that there will be 10-game suspensions if these guys are caught putting illegal substances, sticky substances on the ball. So maybe it's Bartolo's time. What do you think, Jen? You think he might get the call up?
Well, maybe. Who knows? I mean, we've seen crazier things in the world of baseball, right? And I know everyone would love it. He's proving that he can still pitch. And I don't think it would be rare to see a number of pitchers out there because we know that there's a lot of guys who still haven't been signed. And so I don't think it'll be an odd thing to see if we do see a number of pitchers who haven't been signed be signed again. But I would love to see Big Sexy back in the big leagues.
Ozzie, what do you think?
Big Sexy would be very fun to see. By the way, they banned rosin and sunscreen. So Big Sexy would have to find another thing to put on the ball. Like in the words of Pedro Martinez, I rub my balls the way that I want to rub them. That's what Pedro said.
And there's a number. And
I'm going to rant about it later. But this is like we have put this issue in a box, and it's not. Guys like Bartolo Colon, I love to see Bartolo. You know what? Bartolo Colon is the efficiency of what being a master at what you do and still being able to throw a fastball and locating a pitch. I think that if he pitched in the big leagues today, he'd throw you 5 innings, no problem. I don't know how you'd feel in the next week, but he could definitely come in and throw you 5 innings today. It might take him 2 weeks to recover. But what he's doing is impressive. Here's a mistake. People think that the Mexican League is like this, old man's league, that teams are not competitive, that it's just like this, kind of men's league baseball. Look up the rosters, okay? And he's doing it in a very, very, very competitive world of baseball. So to that, I have to tip my cap that he's still been able to do this just with 2 pitches. So you got to tip your cap. I love to see him. If he pitched for any of the teams that are in last place, I would probably watch their team play more than whoever they have on their roster right now, just because it's Big Sexy.
Must-see TV. Okay, Ozzie, in your opinion, who won the week?
In my opinion, it was Harold Castro from the Tigers. He went deep, first home run. It's hard to win the week when your team's in last place, but he's a guy that came up again, and he hit his first home run of the season, but he's had a really good week. And in glimpse of hope for that bottom of the division team, he is one of the guys that looks like he could be a guy that might be in their future. So it was really cool to see that, trying to find something positive and negative, but I think he'll definitely get a lot more of those down the road.
Jen, who won the week for you?
Vladdy Jr. I think, the week that he's had, the month that he's had pretty much sums it all up, but also he's leading in the voting for the All-Star game. And I know everyone wants to see him at that home run derby, get that second chance at winning the title. So I'm going to go with Vladdy Jr.
Fantastic. For me, it was the Cubs. Call it Cubby confusion. They swept the Cardinals over the weekend. They had success against the Padres. I know the Mets gave them a little trouble this past week earlier, but they're still tied for first place in the NL Central with the Brewers. And maybe it's just a big old bag of popcorn that Javi was snacking on, or maybe it's Bill Murray who was pruning, or maybe it's just that the beer funnel was on fire at Wrigley. And Ozzie, as you said, Wrigley was absolutely rocking. I'm going to give it to the Cubs. All right, let's get out our whiteboards, you guys, because we're going to do a little game here. We're going to play a little game. We're going to play who is a better tandem in baseball. So I'm going to throw a couple names out. You let me know who you think, and we're going to put on our whiteboards. Get your markers ready. Okay, first up, Ronald Acuna Jr. and Ozzie Albies, or Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado. Go. All right, let's see. Who you guys got? Acuna, Albies, Tatis, Machado. See, Jen and I are winning. Ozzie, why'd you pick Acuna?
Because they're actually really friends off the field.
Oh, okay. Jen, what went into your decision?
Style of play. I just think that there's just that flair that both of them have. And Machado is known as el ministro de defensa, so the minister of defense in the DR, and that's just, he's got a title.
Well, when is he going to start helping Tatis Jr. with his defense then? Like I'm waiting for that tutorial. Okay. Who's better infield? Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve, or Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers? Let's go. Let's see. What do you guys got?
I got Bogart and Devers.
Yeah. It is unanimous.
Super underrated. Super underrated. Super underrated. Super underrated.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, let's talk about, Jen, I think I already know your pick here, but power bats, Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Teoscar Hernandez, or Nelson Cruz and Miguel Sano. Oh, wait, Jen is going to be split on this one because Nelson Cruz and Vladdy Jr. are two of her favorites, but I'm going to say go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go Nelson and Sano.
Yeah, same. Ozzie, who you got?
We're voting today, guys. Today. One team's in first place fighting. The other team's in the bottom of the barrel. Vlad Jr. is competing for the MVP. And Teoscar Hernandez, I'm going to throw him on that underrated list. That no one knows who he is, but he is a stud. So I have to go with them.
Okay. Next one. Teams that need a little more publicity. Salvador Perez and Carlos Santana, or Jesus Aguilar and Jazz Chisholm.
Ooh.
Show me who you got.
I got the Royals. Salvi and Santana.
Okay.
5 games out of first place, 2 games out of the wild card, and they're smashing. Even though they haven't been teammates for very long, very cool duo.
I remember, Ozzie, at the beginning of the season, we had our dark horse picks of like who the sleeper hit teams were going to be. And I picked the KC Royals, and you agreed with me on that. And you were like, that's the one when if the best teams can best them, because they're going to give teams some trouble. And you were right. They have.
They have. I'll see. They have. Raul Mondesi Jr. has been hurt the whole year.
Yes.
Okay? Not gotten super high yet. They've been able to hang. They're a team that I have that if they're playing meaningful baseball in August or September, I think that they did their job, because no one has this team even being anywhere remotely close. And those guys have played pretty good, and they still haven't gotten hot. Santana, he's been playing average, but I still think that he'll blow up like he always does in the second half. Very dangerous team, a team not to sleep on. I like their combination. They have a very good mix of like veterans with like a lot of younger guys. I like that team a lot.
Okay. Of all of those duos, I want you guys to rate your number one. Who's your power couple? Who's your baseball power duo?
Right now?
Right now.
Oh, I can't. I didn't even vote for them, but they have to be number one. The billion guys. The billionaires.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
You got to go with San Diego. Who pays?
The $1 billion infield, man.
Oh, wait, who pay? I have a question. Yeah. Who pays when they go out to eat?
I'm gonna find out for you.
I'm being serious, because that's a very very rich infield. But I have to go with them, even though I didn't pick them, because I think that they've done one thing that no one's ever been able to do since Tony Gwynn. They've made the San Diego Padres relevant.
Well, yeah, that's true.
They're up there. They're selling jerseys. When anytime you talk about the Padres and you say Trevor Hoffman, Tony Gwynn, that's not good. There was a huge gap, and they had great players, but they could not get the national stage. Right now, Tatis Jr. trends on Twitter every so often. Manny Machado trends on Twitter. They're exciting. They've made ball in San Diego relevant and in the national stage. They have to be them.
By the way, there's some controversy right now on Twitter because the ESPYs put out their nomination for Player of the Year. And who is missing from that list? There is no Fernando Tatis Jr.
If you get paid $300 million, you should be on any list as Player of the Year, because obviously your employer thought that of you for the next 10 years. Just because of that, and by the way, I did not have him being this good this far. He is playing with all that pressure, and he has been able to carry the weight. And that, to me, as as much as hating as anyone wants to do, I tip my cap to that because we've seen other guys falter who signed big contracts who have not been doing so well. It's been a season of injuries, and he has been able to prove to Padres fans that, you know, that he was worth that much money. So I got to give it to him. And then Machado, obviously, you know, he's right there with him. So, yeah, they've made it relevant again, and he should definitely be in the ESPYs. Yeah,
I agree with you. Jen, I saw you tweeted and retweeted that list with a GIF of Tatis Jr. being like, huh? Because that list confounded me. There were a couple of names on that list that I was like, okay.
Not surprised. Not surprised. Four-letter place out there. I don't know what. I definitely don't know sometimes where they get their information or research. I really don't.
Yeah. Confounding at best. But we'll keep you guys updated with that because I'm sure that Twitter will have lots to say about it. But speaking of lots to say, Ozzie, you have lots to say on a certain newsworthy topic. Tell us.
Such a confusing moment right now in baseball, okay? This has me very, very worried because I was just a teenager, but I went and did a lot of research, and a lot of things are starting to look very similar to what we now call the steroid era, okay? And in the steroid era, we confuse PEDs, amphetamines, to steroids, and we basically put them all in the same bunch. One gave you energy, the other one gave you muscles, okay? Same thing now with sticky ball, okay? Sticky ball gate. 2 articles have come out where we have players talk about their use of sticky ball, okay? We had another article come out on Sports Illustrated talking about a clubhouse attendant who basically named every single big-name pitcher in baseball. By the way, no Latinos on that list. I have to throw that one out there. And it's very, very interesting because people are confused. So I'm going to give and something's happened in the last 24 hours. Tyler Glasnow, who in my opinion is one of the top pitchers in baseball, gave an explanation that if you are someone that's in the game of baseball, you understood what he was talking about. Then Pedro Martinez says at the comment last night that I rub my balls the way that I want to rub my balls, basically saying I don't care what the league would say. I'm not changing what I do because of the injury factor. So I'm going to give a quick lesson. So rosin that sits, it's a little bag that squirts like little kind of like, it's a form of like dust, okay? It sits behind the mound. Bullfrog, is a sunscreen, basically a really good sunscreen. And there's bullfrog in every single clubhouse. So pitchers, since the beginning of baseball, since the beginning of bullfrog, they figured that with sunscreen that you put not to catch cancer, okay, and get melanoma on your skin, and rosin, that it gives you a feel for stickiness, okay? But it's not as sticky you can't remove with just a simple like washing your hands. It's not super sticky, okay? And a touch of pine tar, meaning you grab a bat with your hand, that's what they were using. Everyone uses that, okay? There's a new substance, though, that they call it the special magic sauce, that actually creates spin rate. So the geniuses at Major League Baseball, basically Rob Manfred and his crew, said everything is banned and no one can use absolutely nothing. So pitchers like Tyler Glasnow got scared. They didn't use anything, start gripping the ball differently. He's going to have Tommy John now. Pitchers are freaking out because they're saying, I haven't used anything illegal because all I've been using is a sunscreen with the bullfrog, you know, and the rosin. And now players are confused. Trevor Bauer just released a video of him holding the ball with the sunscreen. Okay, is this illegal or not? And that's all with just sweat and the rosin bag. So like our players aren't going to be able to use sunscreen. So it's such a hot mess. And to do it in the middle of the year, just wear it, guys. You should have just not touched it. Let the season end and then do a study. Already with a year with so many injuries because of the shortened season, now you throw this rule in place and you put it on the umpires who've already have done a horrible job this year on rules. Everyone is freaking out. No one knows what's happening. And it's all on Rob Manfred's fault because something that we've known that everyone's done in the 3 weeks, basically, of articles, he panicked, okay? And now you're going to lay out suspensions for 10 games with you don't even have enough evidence on a player, but you let the Astros, who let 38 curveballs and didn't take one of them, okay, in a World Series game, cheat the way they did it. They have a ring because of it. They got paid because of it, and no one got suspended except 2 guys that weren't even playing. So that's the part where players are very confused. And I'm confused because it is so messed up in so many levels that I'm scared, number 1, for more injuries on pitchers. Number 2, if it's a rainy day, I'm not playing because I'm not getting in the box with a pitcher with any type of substance in his hand pitching and me getting drilled. I'm just out of the game. Like, it's raining, I'm out. So there's so many factors. And Rob Manfred, I don't know why. I'm starting to believe he really hates baseball. Like, I really do. Like, how can you be this naive from the mistakes that we've made in the past? We should have learned from them. And then to do this in the middle of the year, like, go talk to the players. Go talk to the hitters. Did you talk to anyone? Everyone's in shock. I'm in shock. I'm so confused. But this is definitely bigger than we think it is. And by the way, huge opportunity. Just make the substance yourself. Make a little bar or something. Put Major League Baseball, the sticky stuff, whatever you want to call it, and sell it to like high school kids. Because even kids in high school are using it. It's a safety precautions. The balls, 1 year they're slippery, 1 year they're not. They're so confused. And that was my rant because it started off in the beginning of the week when we were putting the show together as one article. It has evolved into this monster where I only think it's just going to keep getting bigger.
And Ozzie, you're right. I mean, the suspension alone, it's still a paid suspension. So my best friend Charles Barkley, my best friend in TV, Charles Barkley, said it best. Okay, and I believe that we have this clip of Charles breaking down what he thought. Again, Charles Barkley, Mr. Manfred, is not a baseball specialist. He's an NBA former player, but he basically said, "Hey." He laughed at it. 10 games without pay for cheating? With pay.
For cheating, basically for having something. Why wouldn't I do it? I'm not – if Tyler Glasnow, if you look back at it, if I'm his general manager, or if I'm the owner –
Is the bullfrog and the rosin, is that cheating?
No, it's not. It's not because everyone knows that everybody's doing it. And it's not – if I grab a ball, okay, and the whole thing's a spin rate, and it's like how you grip it. The bullfrog doesn't give you – it's like – I want to compare it to something. It's like if you're playing with some type of sticky stuff and you can wash your hands, but it's not like you're using crazy glue, okay, like Gorilla Glue. The levels of glues are different. So I believe that the rosin and the frog, they give you like a little touch of it, but it's not like you can't move your hand. Like it's not going to give you like more spin rate or more grip. It's just going to literally just help you touch the ball because as Tyler described it, when you have the seams of the ball, for you to have control of it, you have to put a lot of pressure on it. The more pressure you put on the ball with your fingers, your tendons in your hand right here, they tighten up. So everything tightens up. So what they've been teaching you to not injure yourself is grab the ball like an egg. Pedro Martinez. Like Pedro was one of the first guys that started like using that, like grab the ball very lightly and just, just be able to use your speed, but don't make your hand and your wrist tight. The rosin's always helped for that, for the control, because you want to control the ball where it's going to go as much as possible. Again, people don't realize this. Not every pitcher's hand's the same. Okay, some guys have little hands. Some guys have big hands. That's why it's difficult. So I believe that the rosin and the sunscreen is not cheating because, Jen, you know why? I'm a really super sweaty person, okay? If I put gel in my hair, just regular gel, put my hat on, from me just sweating, just from my natural sweat, if I put rosin in my arm and I grab it, it pretty much does the same thing.
Yep.
Okay, just because I sweat a lot, like just massively.
Also, MLB has to come out and say that the players can't use sunscreen during day games. They just don't want them to use it during night games. That's
what I mean. But some guys just use sunscreen. That's the other issue. Like if you have sunscreen, if you're a player, okay, and you put sunscreen on yourself, okay, well, you're not supposed to have sunscreen. So what happens if a guy goes to his arm? Okay, off the mound. When you're off the mound, you can go to wherever you want. So the whole sunscreen, that's why I'm confused about the sunscreen. The rosin's right there. So like the rosin, are they going to take the rosin bag away? Because that's now deemed. So that's the part where if I grab a bat walking out, a player's bat for the pine tar, are they going to come and say, you just grabbed the bat before leaving the dugout? Your fingers are a little touchy. And here's the part people don't understand. Infield players, okay? If you play somewhere where it's cold, Bo Bichette talked about it. He was making errors everywhere, throwing the ball into the stands, couldn't get a good grip on it. And Marcus Semien said, hey, man, have you tried putting a little bit of pine tar in your hands? Oh, what do you mean? Just grab a little pine tar, put it in your glove. And that way, like you have something in your hands that if you're sweating on a day game or if it's moist, you're going to have a little bit of better grip. Those are things that are that between players that don't consider cheating. If you're going out and having a guy make you a special chemical, okay, or you're going and putting like something like the tack, that's cheating. That's like if you had, you were cutting the ball. That's happened always in baseball. I think that Major League Baseball has been lazy, number one, about going after the guys that really have stuff, okay, and just calling them out. But now you're calling out, you're changing the way that the game is actually being played, because I really believe that this substance is used by 99% of the pitchers, one way or the other. The sunscreen and the sunscreen and rosin and sweat. It's used for grips, and it's actually helping baseball more than affecting it. But now everyone thinks in the same box. That's why they said maybe your favorite pitcher did use this substance of some type of a combination. Maybe he didn't use a tack, but I believe it's a bigger issue. Fans want to know. And again, fans are naive, but for the people that are in the game, when everyone's saying this is a horrible idea, hitters, pitchers, former players, current players are like, this is a disaster. Okay? That's why I'm worried about it, because the injury's out of control now. You're adding that now, and the guys are going to change their grips. People call out Major League Baseball players because pitchers can't pitch with like blisters, okay? Or like, when you cut your nail and you cut it too short and it bothers you. I've seen guys miss starts. They miss a start because of that. Why? Not because the pain is going to affect or like hurt you. It's because you start gripping the ball differently. And when you're throwing at 93 miles per hour at 100 times in one game, you will injure your tendons that you've never used before. So that's the part. These guys have been training this whole year to throw the way they've been throwing right now. And now you're telling them in a week's notice, hey, guys, everyone has to change what they're doing. That's very dangerous. Maybe not dangerous for me in my men's league in baseball. Very dangerous when you're throwing 95, 96. That's how you snap your elbow. These guys are doing things at a different level where now you're I don't think they talked to a doctor, to be honest. I don't think Rob Manfred called the doctor and said, hey, how does this affect your tendons? They made a decision.
I don't think they talked to a pitcher.
I'm worried because I think it's a decision that was made very harsh and very quick. We're going to be talking about this on La Vida Baseball for the next 3 months because we know people are going to get suspended. Again, umpires are handing out the suspensions. So what happens if an umpire doesn't like me? They're going to go after the guy and say, oh, I don't like this guy. I'm going to go get him checked. Or the manager. It's bias. It's like, oh, who? Again, it's gamesmanship. And people in baseball know the guys that are using the other stuff versus the guys that are using that. Everyone loves analytics. Okay? Until you put the report about people's spin rates improving. Because there's pitchers that have been using it that have been the same type of pitchers, but they haven't had a huge spin rate improvement. The list is out there. Bubba didn't say Jose Barrios asked me for this, or Freddie Garcia or Pedro Martinez. He mentioned first name and last name. They have text messages. So this whole we don't know who's using it, they've given us proof, and you can look at the numbers and the stats. So that's why I don't understand why Major League Baseball is saying, hey, guys, they should have just let the season finish out and then talk about it in the offseason and say, hey, what are we going to do?
Yeah. This story definitely has legs, and we will certainly keep you updated on it. Ozzie, thank you so much for the rant, and Jen as well. We'll see you guys next week with much more from La Vida Baseball.